There are 310 total abilities in the world of Pokemon, which can definitely feel a little intimidating. See what I did there? So today, we'll ease into things and go over some of the most common abilities that you'll see in VGC. Abilities were introduced in Generation 3, and are special attributes given to each Pokemon that can aid them in battle. These abilities can increase the power of moves or stats, like Sheer Force for Landorus, or Dauntless Shield for Zamazenta, introduce a third-party effect like a weather condition, like in the case of Kyogre and Groudon, and sometimes abilities can even hinder the Pokemon itself or your opponents during battle, like Slow Start for Regigigas, or Intimidate for Incineroar. So why are abilities important? Abilities make a Pokemon more unique than just its typing or stats alone. For example, Go-Go and Rillaboom have roughly similar base stat totals. Go-Goat's is actually higher, surprisingly. But Rillaboom sees a lot of play, while Go-Goat is stuck grazing in the pasture. So what sets them apart? Abilities! If you recall, Rillaboom, like we previously touched on during our terrains and weather video, gets the ability Grassy Surge, which allows it to set up grassy terrain as it enters the battlefield, whereas Go-Goat gets the ability Sap Sipper, a much less desirable ability in VGC. Your entire team synergy can actually be built around abilities, like pairing Intimidate with a physically frail Pokemon, or Swift Swim on rain teams, all of which adds more dynamics to battles. So when trying to form a team, not only do you need to look at typing, stats, and move pool, but also abilities that'll make a Pokemon stand out over its similar counterparts. But now that we know why abilities are important, let's look at some of the more popular abilities that you'll see in VGC. Luckily, we already covered a few of the most common abilities that you'll see during our terrains and weather video, like Drizzle and Drought, Grassy Surge, and Psychic Surge. So feel free to review that video to freshen up on your knowledge. I'll go ahead and link it here. But aside from those, one common ability that you'll see in VGC is Intimidate. When a Pokemon with the ability Intimidate enters a battle, it lowers the attack stat of all adjacent opponents by 1 stage. A common Pokemon with this ability is Incineroar. Notice that whenever Incineroar joins the field, the ability Intimidate activates, and oftentimes people will give Incineroar the move U-turn or Parting Shot, which allows the Pokemon to pivot out of the battle. This way they can send it back in to activate Intimidate again. This is what many people call Intimidate cycling, which allows you to continue to lower the attack of your opponents multiple times. Another common ability that you'll see in VGC is Prankster. Prankster increases the priority of status moves by 1. Feel free to review status moves in our previous video on move types as well. But Prankster is an ability that most trainers like to have on their support Pokemon due to their access to a variety of status moves like Tailwind, Light Screen, etc. A common Pokemon with this ability is Tornadus. Notice that when Tornadus uses a status move like Tailwind, it's the first thing to activate on the field, despite there being faster Pokemon around it. This allows trainers to instantly double their speed with Tailwind, quickly tipping the momentum of the battle in their favor. Another common ability that you'll see that is usually preferred on physical attacking Pokemon is Inner Focus. Inner Focus prevents the Pokemon from flinching, as well as blocks the effects of the previously mentioned Intimidate. A common Pokemon that you'll see with Inner Focus is Dragonite. Notice how Dragonite's attack is not lowered when the opponent brings Incineroar onto the field. What's more is that if Incineroar tries to use the move Fake Out on Dragonite, a move that does a small amount of damage but also causes the opponent to flinch, Dragonite will still take the small amount of damage, but will not flinch, allowing it to move normally on the turn Fake Out was used. Now the next ability is also common, however you will only see it on one specific Pokemon, Armor Tail. Armor Tail is Farigiraf's ability. With this ability, if an opponent uses a move with increased priority, including moves boosted by Prankster or Gale Wings, that targets Farigiraf or its allies, Armor Tail prevents that Pokemon from using that move. This means that your opponent can only use moves with decreased priority or a move without any. Essentially, it blocks priority moves. For example, notice how when Farigiraf is on the field, the move Fake Out, which has an increased priority, fails. Due to this unique ability and access to support moves like Helping Hand and Trick Room, trainers often like to run Farigiraf on slower teams like Trick Room to prevent their opponents from being able to use priority moves like Extreme Speed or Grassy Glide against them. Another ability that is often seen on support Pokemon is Friend Guard. Friend Guard reduces the damage that other allied Pokemon take from from attacks by 25%. It does not affect the Pokemon with the ability itself, however. A common Pokemon that you'll see with this ability is Clefairy. Notice that when Clefairy is present on the field, its partner takes less damage from the same move than when it is not present. Due to this ability and its wide variety of support moves such as Follow Me, trainers often use Clefairy as a way to redirect attacks from their opponents, as well as lower the damage taken if they are not able to redirect the attack. Another ability that is often very common on support Pokemon is Regenerator. Regenerator restores 33% of the Pokemon's max HP upon switching out of battle. And this ability just so happens to be one of the most popular support Pokemon's ability, Amoonguss. Notice that after taking damage and swapping out of battle, once Amoonguss rejoins the field, it will have regained HP. Couple that with the support moves Rage Powder for redirection and Spore, which causes the opponent to fall asleep, as well as some bulky defense stats, and you've got yourself one tough mushroom that's bound to stick around for a while, making it a prime choice for a support Pokemon. The final ability that we'll cover is actually one that I mentioned earlier in this video, Sheer Force. Sheer Force raises the base power of all damaging moves that have any additional effects by approximately 30%. But the caveat is that the secondary effect is ignored. Think of it as Life Orb damage, but without the HP chip. The most popular Pokemon that you'll see with this ability is Landorus. Notice how much damage a Landorus with Sheer Force does with a move like Earth Power, which usually has a chance of lowering the opponent's defense, versus a Landorus with Sand Force also using Earth Power. Due to its access to its signature spread move, Sandsear Storm, which usually has a chance to burn your opponent, as well as other moves like Earth Power, which are also boosted by Sheer Force, coupled with its great special attack stat, this makes Landorus a prime choice for a hard-hitting special attacker. Like I mentioned, these are just a few of the most common abilities that you'll see during battles. However, since I seriously doubt you all want to sit here and listen to me go through all 310 abilities, it is of course always best to do your own research on any specific Pokemon that you'd like to use if their ability wasn't covered in this video or in previous videos. But as you've seen through the various examples, your entire team synergy can and should be built with abilities in mind. So when selecting a Pokemon, it's best to not only look at their stats, typing, and move pool, but also their abilities. And now, with all this in mind, you are now one step closer to building a winning team. So stay tuned for next time as we continue to dive deeper into the world of competitive Pokemon.